Hey everybody, this is the Tabletop Gaming Guild show, and Tabletop Gaming Guild is all about the experiences and memories that playing tabletop games with friends and family can create. On this episode, we'll be discussing our holiday recommendations, but first we're going to talk about the things that we've been playing lately. James, what have you been playing lately?
Well, I've been playing a game that I wasn't too sure about, but I ended up liking. I really like games that tell a story, and I'm hesitant on app-based games. And I found like there's a lot of app-based games I like, and there's a lot that I don't. But I played Destinies. So I played Destinies, the base game, and I played the first scenario for Destinies, Witchwood. Destinies, the base game, is pretty much app-driven, like completely. You have a board on there. Think like Mansions of Madness. All the overhead is taken care of on the app. But what's really cool about Destinies is it actually tells a story as it goes through. Now, there is one session that you can do that's just standalone, but there's 3 others that form a campaign in the base game, and they're pretty long. And what's really cool is each character has their own destiny, and not only do they have their own destiny, but they have 2 different paths they can do. And the way you get to win the game is you get to complete the finale of your destiny. So at a certain point you can trigger it and start it. But just because someone has started their destiny doesn't mean that you won't win, because how prepared you are when you go into that finale matters. So if someone takes their time, gets all the equipment they need, it might only take them like 3 or 4 rounds to complete their finale, where the other guys look at 10 to 12 because they weren't prepared enough. Really cool interactions, really cool dialogue, really cool story. Liked it a lot. And then Witchwood, which is just finishing up on Kickstarter now. It was really interesting. They actually did a lot of really cool things with the app. Sort of reminded me of how like they could take few components and do like crazy stuff with it, like Mansions of Madness did. But I like that. And the other one that I like was Devour. It's a very lightweight 3-in-1 game. There's 3 different games in it. You're not using the same deck of cards or anything. They're literally 3 different decks of cards to play either solo, multiplayer, or 2-player competitive. So I really appreciated the fact that they weren't like multi-purposing a single thing. So they made one that was best for solo, and they made one that's best for 2-player, and they made one for best for multiplayer. And you're trying to do a food chain thing. Really cool game. And those are like the main 2 that I've been playing. How about you, Nathan?
Well, first, I've really considered picking up Destinies, but I held off. I'm kind of waiting till after Christmas to pick it up.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair enough.
But I actually played a lot of games this week, but I don't want to talk about any of them. I want to talk about Oathsworn because I finally finished Oathsworn. Which now I've talked a lot about Oathsworn, and it's a good, solid campaign. It's not the best campaign in games as a game. I find Gloomhaven to be far superior, but as a campaign, this game is amazing. It's really well done. It's kind of changes things up as you go, so it's constantly keeping it fresh, not having to learn a lot of new rules, but never feeling like it's a slog. And at one point, the story part of it was kind of feeling a little samey. Then they immediately started changing up just as it got to that point. And then towards the end, in most campaigns or even legacy games, like when I'm getting towards the end, I'm often like, okay, let's just get this done and like go to the next game. Not at all for this one. And a big part of that is they did it like the video game trick, where they give you this massive power trip. You're fighting monsters from early on, and you're feeling super powerful, and then they slap you down. And it was a really well done campaign.
And so many miniatures, including trees and houses.
Which my other brother has started to painting for me. So
there you go.
It's really starting to look cool.
You had to send pictures.
Oh, yeah.
How about you, Evan? What have you been playing?
So I got a couple games in. I'm going to just mention 2 of them. So the first one I'm going to mention, I picked up a copy of and got to play Phantom Leader by DVG Games. So the leaders games, there's a whole mess of them that they put out. Hornet Leader, Thunderbolt Leader, Phantom Leader. So it's all aircraft based solo game, and depending on what era basically you want to play it in. And the idea is you play either as a single aircraft or a flight of aircraft, and you're making attacks at various targets, and you have to pick your wings, armament, navigate into the site and out of the site. And the campaigns have, I think my box has 8 different eras that you can play as. You can play as U.S. Air Force or U.S. Navy, and in each one of those, you have a short, medium, and long campaign with it. So you can kind of gauge how much time do I have. Each mission itself only takes about 20 minutes once you learn the rules, so it goes pretty quick. Really enjoy it. Kind of delving a little bit into some solo games, as I don't get a chance to play multiple multiplayer games a lot anymore. So I figured, why not try some of these? And I really enjoyed that one. The other one that I got to play was the Battle of Brandywine by Fast Play War Games. So that just finished up on Kickstarter not that long ago and fulfilled. So the Battle of Brandywine, it's a Revolutionary War battle. It's a really super simple game. So it's a chit game with hexes on the map. The map is 11 by 17, so it's not a very big map. But the battlefield itself is miles wide, so they condensed it way down. What's really cool is movement is very stagnant. Everything can move 2, and there's only one number that is on the chits, and that tells you what you need to roll on a d6 to make a hit. If you hit, you flip the counter over. The rules could have used a little bit more editing in them, but me and another guy, we learned how to play it and probably played the entire battle in less than an hour.
That's not bad at all. So yeah, DVG Games, some of them are great, some of them aren't, but I'm glad to hear this one is good.
Yeah, it's especially if you have an interest in, that specific like theater or aircrafts. It's a good solo game.
Watch Top Gun in the back, just go down. So how about you, Peter? Did you get any games to the table recently?
Well, so probably I think the latest game that I've played, I think even the last time I was on here, we talked about latest played games. I've been playing Targi, but I've talked about that one a little bit. I've played it multiple times though recently. Really enjoy it. Great 2-player game. But the one that I want to talk about this time is I played it with a few of you guys, and we played The Fox Experiment, Elizabeth Hargrave's newest game that successfully kickstarted and hasn't come out, I don't think, for everybody yet physically, but we got to play it on Tabletop Simulator. And this is a game which takes an actual historical event, turning it into a board game where there was some genetic scientific experiments done with foxes, where they were trying to see if they could actually get foxes to breed with a focus on kindness, like a kind fox. They were trying to domesticate foxes. And so we played the game. I think the thing that I enjoyed a lot about this that was not in previous Elizabeth Hargrave games, she's the one who did Wingspan and Mariposas. And there's at least one other one that I've not played yet. But there was a lot of dice chucking in this game, which I thought was kind of fun. And in the game, you're going to be starting off with a market of foxes, which each of the players will choose a male and a female. And then you will be taking some actions and rolling some dice based on those foxes and trying to meet certain goals. Everyone's going to have a goal card or a scorecard kind of thing. And you're looking for these foxes to have a baby fox that's going to meet some certain genetic criteria, which was very interesting and I really enjoyed that. But I think the thing that I liked the most about it was the fact that then the foxes that you have bred go into the market for the next round. And then you're going to be choosing from those foxes, and you can't choose two foxes from the same player because, you can't have inbreeding going on. So that was kind of, I thought kind of a fun mechanic. And then bringing those down, having more babies. And there's the fact that all of a sudden you're naming the baby foxes, which if eventually when our playthrough goes out on the YouTube channel, people will see that I wasn't doing a whole lot of it, but I think it was the fact that the game wasn't right there in front of me, and I didn't have it's going to have dry erase cards so that you can like write the names on them, which I think is a lot of fun. Game says it can be played in 60 minutes, which I think means we probably played it for about 3 hours. But it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to eventually seeing like the physical board game and seeing how all of that plays in as well. But yeah, the fact that you're putting out these baby foxes into the marketplace, and then you just keep going down the line and seeing how the genetics plays out. And I like dice chucking. The nice thing about dice chucking here is there's no numbers. I'm not shooting for high or low. I am shooting for specific genetic things, but then it's all about how can you puzzle together what you did get when you rolled and make it work the best for you. So I thought it was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. Looking forward to playing it again at some point, but that was The Fox Experiment by Elizabeth Hargrave.
Yeah, I love her as a designer. I'm really sad I missed that. I could just imagine you naming the foxes like TK47, and you'd be like, why aren't you at your pen?
See,
like
yeah, I got to be able to be a little bit more fun with it in that way. So, but yeah, good times.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So that actually is a good thing into my segue for our Christmas buying list, because my first one on the list is an Elizabeth Hargrave design. But we're going to talk about stocking stuffers. So what we feel are going to be great games that you can put into stocking stuffers. And for me, I was playing a lot of button shy games recently, and they are perfect stocking stuffers. They're no larger than a wallet size, like the old type of wallets that you would get like at the Dollar Tree or whatever. They're really thin. And they're normally 18 card games. One of my favorite, and I really recommend it for a stocking stuffer, although they have tons of other that are awesome, is I really like Tussie Mussie. So Tussie Mussie is an 18 card game designed by Elizabeth Hargrave. And in the game, what you're trying to do is create arrangements of flowers. So you have your keepsakes and you have your flowers. And the whole name of the game is, if Peter and I are playing, I will draw 2 cards. I'll take a look at those cards. I'll put one face up and one face down. And he has to pick whether he wants to take the one he can see or the one he can't see. If he takes the one he can't see, he can look at it after he takes it, but it goes into his keepsake pile. And you'll have 4 cards at the end, and they have different scoring criteria. And normally you're going to get between like 3 and 12 points. And you're going to do this over 3 rounds. And the person with the most points at the end of the 3rd round wins. Really fun, really light, really easy to teach game that is like a perfect stocking stuffer. You could put pretty much Button Shy's entire line into a stocking stuffer, which is like 16, 17 games. They could be like, I have so many games now. But that is my recommendation for stocking stuffers for Christmas. How about you, Peter?
Yeah, so for me, my stocking stuffer is kind of what I would consider to have become a classic small game. That is, if you buy, I think, the original 10 set for this game. There are versions that are larger, and you're going to have to get a really big stocking if you want to fit that whole thing in. But if you just get the base game for Sushi Go, it's going to fit into that stocking very easily. And you're going to get a lot of fun gameplay out of this. For those of you who not played Sushi Go, it is a drafting game where you're going to be passing your cards around. You're going to be building sets. But the whole thing is themed around sushi, obviously. And so you're going to be gathering your nigiri, and you're going to be dipping things in wasabi sauce. Try not to get the cards too messy. But you're going to have a good time playing this one. I've played it with a vast array of age groups. I've played it with fairly young kids down to about 7 or 8 years of age. I have played it with adults, and through all age groups, I have heard nothing but good things with this game. Very easy to teach, very quick to play. This is one that you'll play it till the end, which is like after just, I think, 3 rounds. But you're going to want to play it again because you're going to play it that fast. It's very, I feel like it's kind of addictive. And like I said, you might not be playing it for like months on end or anything, but for one night, you get this game out, very small tin case, which again, that's another nice thing. It's a small, but it's in a tin case. I like that. And it's very cutesy art as well. So for people who like cutesy art, you'll get into this one. So that is Sushi Go, and you can find it for pretty inexpensive to pick up Sushi Go just about anywhere. So it's a good one.
Yeah, it's definitely, I really think that's a good pick. I think that fast-paced drafting game, I think they got the iconography for it perfect.
Yeah.
Because I've never had anyone ask, like, how does this do this thing again? Like,
right.
It's just so straightforward. They just did a really good job with it.
It's all right there on the card. Very, like you said, it is very minimal iconography, but it just makes perfect sense. And so after you teach the game, like in a few minutes, everyone's going to know what they're doing.
Yeah. And it's one of those games too that works for really young audiences too.
Yeah.
So it could do the whole family. Really good pick. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could get, a couple copies of it in a stocking. So
I don't know.
You don't need multiple copies, but you could.
Yeah. So how about you, Nathan? What is your number one stocking stuffer? I'm assuming it's Gloomhaven.
Yeah. You'd have to have a really big feet, but no, I'm gonna talk about Skull King. Now, this is by Grandpa Beck Games, who's a publisher doesn't get a whole lot of attention, but they publish some really good games, some not so great, but a lot of them are really good. Skull King is basically oh heck. So basically, you're gonna play a few hands, and you won't have the full deck available. And it's a trick-taking game with crazy powers. Well, not terribly crazy, but basically the king beats the Skull King beats everything, and you can have like a card that you could throw in that would like negate the Skull King and various other powers. But basically, you're going to be bidding how many tricks you think you can take. You get lots of points if you're right. You lose some points if you're wrong.
Yeah, Skull King is a really good pick. I just wanted to point out that it is a modular-based game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually simpler than if you played OHEC or Wizards, because there's not, other than the pirates and the Pirate King, there isn't suits. Like there is suits, but there's no like Jack, King, Queen. So it's simplified in that way. And the base game is super easy to teach, and then it ramps it up as you go, so you can keep getting tons of replayability. Because you could add the Kraken in, all the pirates can have different ability. So you could add the mermaid in, which if you have to be careful, because if you play the Pirate King and someone plays a mermaid, the mermaid beats the Pirate King because it's a wonderful, wonderful game. I love trick-taking games, and that variant is one of my favorite. So yeah, really like the pick. And the second edition, Grandpa Beck, the first was fine too, but the second edition, the art on it is like phenomenal. I love it. It's awesome. So great pick. Now, for Evan, what is your best stocking stuffer?
So stocking stuffer wise, what I picked is Cardaventura, Vinland. So it is put out by Cosmos Game. It's a super inexpensive game. I think you probably pick it up for like $15 online. So in that game, you are actually playing as a Viking in the footsteps of Eric the Red, and you get together with the amount of people that you're playing. You play it by yourself, and you can play it says up to 6, but there is no limit if of how many people want to play. It's just how many people can you get around the cards. It's a completely card-based game. The cards themselves are probably like that big, and you build out a map as you go, and on the map is going to have different things on it, and you choose. It's much like a choose your own adventure kind of story. I want to go do this. Well, I need card 42, or I want to do this. You need go to card 55 unless you have this item that you picked up earlier. And the it's broken up into, I think it's either 5 or 6 segments of the story. So the first adventure that we did, I think it took about 15-20 minutes to get through that, and then each one's about the same length. So there's some good, I don't want to say replayability because it's broken up into those modules, but like kind of a branching storyline for you. And I think it's a good, inexpensive, small game that you open up on Christmas out of your stocking that you can play with a couple people that are there with you and make it pretty well through the entire thing.
Yeah, and I really liked that one, and the art looked really cool for it. On the
the art's phenomenal.
And, yeah, and that is part of a line. The Cartaventura is a line of different ones. That was just Vinland, and then they have all different sort of themed ones going on. So yeah, that's a cool pick.
Yeah,
I
we
think
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Peter would like it too.
Plus, Vikings.
Vikings, yeah.
Yes, I love Vikings. You know me well.
Incidentally, it was really hard because I'm going to do a Viking top 10 list to make a Viking, to find 10 Viking games.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
Like
odd.
I've played a few that I know that I really love, but I don't know if I could do 10.
Right. It doesn't seem like there's a lot. Even looking through BGG, there's not a whole heck of a lot of Viking themed games.
All right, game designers out there, get on this. We need more. We need more phenomenal Viking games, please.
I think I could easily come up with 10, but beyond that might be challenging.
I challenge you to get 10.
But are those 10 good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. I want to see this 10. Maybe we'll do a dual top 10 list.
I like it. I like it.
Sounds good.
And if
It is a
Evan has
TGG
10
challenge.
too. Yeah, TGG challenge. If Evan has 10 also, you could do miniature games too. I bet you could hit it with that.
I have 10 of the best.
Okay, I guess the challenge is on to Peter. If he can get 10 games, then he gets.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on that. I definitely don't think I have 10.
So the three of us could do a side one. But anyway, so those were all great stocking stuffers. The next one we go is to get the best intro level game. So what game are you going to get someone that is new to the hobby, not necessarily played any modern games, and might pique their interest and get them into the hobby? Now, the game I picked is arguably borderline entry level. There's a lot of mechanics and stuff in it that can be hard for people to grasp that have never played games like that.
Are we going to have to call shenanigans early in this episode?
You might, but I think that the theme, because of its popularity and the mechanics aren't all that hard, I think a lot of people would be invested enough to learn how to do it. And that is Lords of Waterdeep. Lords of Waterdeep is one of the best entry-level worker placer games I can think of. There's some mechanics in it that if no one's played worker placement, you're going to have to spend extra time explaining that. You have to explain how the intrigue cards work and interact, and you have to explain how to do the complete resource management and quests and stuff. But I think that just the streamlined nature of the game and how once you get past that, how the game like flows and how fun it is, will get people into other games after that, and it gives them a good basis on mechanics for later games. So my entry level game is going to be a little rougher for someone that's never played modern board games, but I think it's worth it, and that is Lords of Waterdeep.
I would definitely agree with the fact that it is worth it for sure. And to be honest, I don't think you're going to have too much trouble. I think that is a, like you said, borderline intro level, but not too borderline. It's not too bad. I think you're good. I'm not calling shenanigans on this one.
All right, sweet. So how about you? What is your best intro level game to get someone for the holidays?
So one of my things that I like to look at for intro level games is I enjoy games that are cooperative at intro level as well, because I think there's a little less stress involved when everyone's working together towards a goal. Even if it's not easy to win the game, then I still think that there's less stress involved with a cooperative game, which I think lends itself to making a nice intro level game. So for me, for this one, I went with a very fun themed game, Horrified. So if you like cryptozoology, I'm going to throw out my big word there. If you like all those cryptids, if you like the Mothman, if you like all of those things, then there's Horrified, the original game, which is focused on like Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy. You've got all of those for your and the board itself is like a Transylvania, Middle East, not Middle Eastern, Eastern European kind of city feel. And you're going to be going around this city with all of your player characters, and you are going to be stopping the monster or monsters. That's the nice thing about this game, is you can start with 1 or 2 monsters, kind of very intro level, so it's not quite as difficult to defeat those 2, and then you can build up to having 4 monsters that are all wreaking havoc in this town at the same time, and you are feeling a little stretched in getting your characters to all the locations they need to go to in order to gain the items that they will use to defeat these creatures. Really fun thing is that each individual monster has their own puzzle, kind of a puzzle in which you have to figure out the puzzle to defeat them. And I like that each monster has their own puzzle that has a slightly different mechanic to winning. I think it adds some nice variability to the game, and will definitely lend itself to at least a good few playthroughs before you're ready to set it aside for a bit. But when you set it aside and you decide, hey, it's time to go back to Horrified, that means it's time to buy Horrified 2 American monsters. So that's where you're going to get Mothman. You're going to get, oh shoot, I'm going to blank on everything. The Chupacabra. You're going to get all these really cool American-based cryptids that you're going to be fighting against. And the setting for this one is like your classic 1980s, 1990s high school town. So all the iconography and images on the board are very reminiscent to that. So you'll have like your sports stadium for the high school, and you'll have your local eatery joint, you'll have City Hall and all that. Same idea, same mechanics, and still it is a cooperative game. I have suggested this game to multiple families that I know, and again have heard back really great things about these games. So if you're looking for a good intro level game, learning a few different kinds of mechanics, but nothing heavy at all, but a fun game, then I would recommend Horrified.
Yeah, I think that's a great recommendation. And it's easily available because I've seen it at Target and Walmart.
It's everywhere. Yeah,
it's everywhere.
You do not have to go to a hobby store to get this game. You're going to be able to go to just your regular store. But then I will say, go to your hobby store if you get the chance. Go to your comic book store if you got the chance. But you should be able to find this one just about anywhere.
It sounds like they took, for the second edition, they took a broader sense of American. So it's because that's Chupacabra is more like Latin America. So it's like Americas, I guess.
Yeah, Chupacabra, I know down in like Texas, New Mexico, they'll talk about it as well. But yeah, they kind of went fairly broad over in the Americas for sure. So it's good stuff.
Plus, it's fun saying Chupacabra.
Chupacabra.
I'm going to take out the Chupacabra.
Chupacabra.
Nice.
It's not as manly as saying, I took out Mothman.
No, absolutely, right?
Mothman is just like, wow, you just swatted it. Good job.
Good job. Well done.
Well done. All right. So how about you, Nathan? What is your recommendation for intro level board game?
So I was thinking about something that would be more a game that once you've learned it, they could teach it to their friends or family pretty easily. You know, spread the love of board gaming. So I chose Survive. Survive Escape from Atlantis for several reasons. It's a very easy game to learn. It's visually very appealing, and a lot of the visuals help in learning the game. Like well, basically the concept of the game is you have your people that have various values that's hidden, and you're trying to get them off the island as it sinks and trying to get them to safety. Meanwhile, pieces of the island are sinking into the ocean, and whales and sharks are coming around and sea monsters. But there's a lot of little nice visual aids that help, like the thickness of the land tiles for the island varies. So the thinnest ones are the shore beach pieces. Those are the ones that go first, and then it's the forest, which are slightly thicker pieces, and the thickest pieces are the mountains, and those are the last to sink. So a lot of those little visual elements really help in learning the game and teaching it, and make it very attractive on the table.
Yeah, no, that's a really good pick. Yeah, it's visually really nice. It is a really fun take that game that isn't like to take that, because you could position yourself to not be in the position of being eaten or whatever.
So I want to get on his lifeboat, so
Yeah.
he'll actually get my person out.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things to think of. And then sometimes you do that and you have a 1 and you're like, oh, they think it's valuable, and you hit it with a whale, and then shark time, like you're eating your own people.
Mute that.
Such a good game. Yeah, I like that one a lot, and I highly recommend it too, even for non-intro level gaming, although it's a perfect intro level game. How about you, Evan?
So intro level game is a game that we have all played. We have all talked about numerous times on the channel, and it's just a real fun, easy, great game, and that's The Crew. So the Crew, the one I'm specifically talking about is the the Quest for Planet 9. So everyone is astronauts working toward the mission of going out into space, and it is a cooperative trick-taking game. And in that, you go through multiple missions, and each mission builds off the last one. You can follow the story as you prep to go into space, and then you have your adventure into space, and so on. And the difficulty gets way, way harder as you go further and further into it. It's super easy to teach. I think if you have somebody that's not really sure, if you ask them if they've ever played hearts or spades before, and they say yes, you're 75% of the way. Super easy to teach. The game is quick, it's fun, super replayable. Can get really frustrating as you get a couple hard missions in there, but when you fail, you immediately want to just shuffle the cards and play it again until you beat it. And I think that's a good sign of an intro level game, that you're all working together and you're going to have fun doing it.
Yeah, I thought about putting this on a couple different categories, but I figured somebody would already talk about this. It could have worked on stocking stuffers. It could have worked on inexpensive games. It could technically work for party games, even though it's like really only 5 people, but it does have that fast-paced feel, and it's something you can go through quickly, but then you can play game after game after game of it.
Yeah, and having the 50 missions is really nice because it gives you a nice long, I guess, campaign, if you want to say, to play at. But I think you said, James, that you've gone through those 50 a couple times, or was it you, Nathan, that's gone through the 50 a couple times?
Yeah, I've gone through a couple times, and for the sequel, I've played quite a bit of that too.
Yeah, for the sequel, I don't think I've ever made it to the 50. We just keep redoing it because it just, get the random cards out. It doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah.
I had a board game weekend that I brought it, and 3 of the other people have never played it before, and I taught it to them. It was probably like an hour before dinner. We got through, I think, 10, 11 missions, and they were like just hooked playing it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful game. So for this next topic, I am very passionate about it because I have a lot of young kids, and there is a lot of horrible kids games out there, and those are super easy to find. You go to Walmart or Target, they're all over the walls. The whole wall is junk.
Don't step on the poop.
Don't step on the poop. something where the poop goes out of the toilet. Like those are all dumb. They're junk. There's a lot of great games. Most of them are, we'll say, my first, like my first Ticket to Ride, my first Settlers of Catan, my first Stone Age. Those are all great. And they're very high quality and wonderful. But one I wanted to speak about specifically is even harder to find, but it's still available and is a wonderful, wonderful game. And that is called Quest Kids. Quest Kids, my 3-year-old up to my 6-year-old, love the game. And there's so much wonderful things with Quest Kids. In Quest Kids, you're playing a dungeon delving game. It's going to have a whole bunch of tiles that are out on the board. And it has very simplified movement. You just go to the first open tile that you want to. You can go anywhere on the board as long as, you know, you can go to you can move to a undiscovered tile or one discovered one. So movement's super easy. They flip over the tile. The tile will give them like magic or other items they can use throughout the game, or it'll have a big bad that they have to fight. And the beginning of the map has green cards. You have some gray cards in there, which are the medium hardness, and you have the red cards off to the right, which are harder, but have really great rewards. But that's fine. You know, they're questing, they're gaining points, they're gaining gems, they're having a lot of fun. But what's really cool about this game is it promotes helping your opponent. And you're like, well, how does it do that? Well, if you help your opponent in this game, like they're fighting this boss and they're like, I'm losing, and you throw in items to finish off the boss, you'll get kind kid cards for all the things that you helped with. And these kind kid cards give you really cool bonuses. And it feels great getting these kind kids cards. And it feels great when the kids help each other. So it just ends in a very positive, it's still a competitive game, but it ends up in a very positive game where the kids turn out wanting to help each other achieve what they're trying to do instead of like, take that. So I really, really like Quest Kids, and they came out with an expansion for it. There's 2 expansions for it already. So it can grow with your kids. I would say the base game is probably 3 to 8 at the most. I mean, any a little older could play it, but with the expansions, you can keep on going for a while because they add a little bit more complexity for each expansion, which is cool. So that is my number 1 pick for a kids game for Christmas.
I'm excited for that one off your recommendation. I got it for my youngest, so we'll see how that goes after Christmas.
Yeah, I think you'll love it. The miniatures are really tall in it, so they're really big, chunky miniatures, which I like. They're great for kids because they like getting their whole mitts on it and be like, Mah! Yeah, like that. So how about you, Peter? What is your recommendation for a great kids game for Christmas?
So again, I did go with another cooperative game. I like cooperative games with kids, having played a good few games with kids as well. I did a lot of that as a children's librarian. I've done that as well as an uncle. So I went with this one. This is one I definitely like it. I think it's not, I don't know that it would be for all kids. I'm just going to go ahead and preface it with that, but I think it would be a good game with the kids. And that is Concept Kids Animals. There is a game for adults called Concept. And it's a very interesting game where you're challenging with your partner in the game, where you're trying to get each other to guess a word, a name, an idea, just by picking out images on a board. And so there is a ton of images on the board for the adult version of this game, but for the kids version of the game, the idea is that your kids are all going to be working together by pointing out and picking out images on the board, they're going to be trying to get each other to guess what animal they've been given. So in the game, the kids are going to draw cards at the beginning with the animals on them. There are no words in the game, so even the cards are just images of the animals to help them understand, so you don't have to have kids who can read in order to play this game. But with that animal, they're going to then try to point out images on the board, and some of the images are things like color, or kind of landscape images. What kind of area would this animal live in? So you're going to be learning about the animals as you play the game as well. And I think it could be a lot of fun for your kids as they work together to try to do this together. I've played the adult version of the game and think that this kids version could be a lot of fun to play with your kids as well. So concept, kids, animals.
I will say Nathan actually got that for my kids, concept kids. It's great. I will say that it's probably also not for every kid.
Right.
Because it's a little hard.
It can be a little difficult. I think the age range they put on the BGG page for it is probably going to be a little too low. They went as low as 4. I definitely think you're going to want a little bit of an older kid. Probably, I'm thinking, I don't know about you, James, when you played it with if you saw the kids play or played it with them, I'm thinking probably 6+ for that.
I agree with that. At least 6+, maybe 8+.
Maybe 8+.
6+. It depends. I mean, if your kids love animals and love animal facts,
right, then they might be good for it.
It could. If not, you're probably going to have to nudge that up a little bit.
Okay. So, I know that I really enjoyed concept. And so the idea that I could try playing a similar version game with some younger kids, I think would be a good idea too. So,
yeah, concept for kids also, you can fudge it a little bit. It actually says in the rule books you can a little bit too.
Oh, nice.
Because the parent is the only person who ever has the animal. The kids have to guess the animal.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So you can play around with it.
Play around with that a little bit. Okay, awesome.
All right. So Nathan, what about you? What is your recommendation for a great kids game?
Well, I don't play a lot of kids games.
Why not? Why not, Nathan?
And a lot of the ones I've played tend to be out of print because kids games often do go out of print very quickly. But one that has consistently stayed in print is Rhino Hero. And they've done Super Rhino Hero.
Yeah, that's a kids game. Yeah, totally kids game.
And the reason I picked this over some of the other pure kids games is this is definitely one that adults can play it also. Yeah. It's basically the concept of this is you're given these cards that actually you're supposed to fold these cards, and they're designed to fold. So they shouldn't, I don't think they'll tear or anything. They look pretty well.
No, they're the way you just fold them in half for the most part. So yeah, I never had a problem with them.
So you have base floors basically, and the floor will tell you how many structural pieces you can put on that one, and then you'd have to put the next one on it, and you're basically building a tower, and you have to put sometimes you have to put monkeys on these towers to like affect the stability, and you have to move your rhino up, and you're basically, it's sort of Jenga but backwards, and it's less stress than Jenga and more silly fun.
Yeah, I remember. I have it, and Nathan was visiting, and we're like, okay, girls, will show you how to play this game. 2 hours later, we're playing the game, not them. We didn't even let them play. We're just sitting there, just going nuts. It's so much fun. Mm-hmm. Like, you can play later. Don't worry about it. It's a good game. Rhino Hero, and they have Super Rhino Battle, which is like the big ultimate one. And that's Haba Games. So you'll have to pick it up from an online store, but really, really high quality. Haba Games are in general really good, especially for kid games. So,
it's also pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I think it's like $12.
I don't know.
Well, I'm actually looking at it. So it's 12 to 20, depending where you get it.
All right. So how about you, Evan? What is your number one recommendation for a kids game?
So kids game wise, I'm going to go with one that I actually enjoy playing with my kids, and that is King of Tokyo. So King of Tokyo, I've said multiple times, it's Yahtzee with a theme. So instead of Yahtzee, you have 5 die. You actually have 6 in King of Tokyo. You roll them, and it's the general rules of Yahtzee where you're trying to, match faces on the die, and you are a monster that is attacking Tokyo, and the idea is to be the last monster standing. So it's kind of like a dice chucking set collection as you're collecting power cubes to upgrade your monster. You get to do damage to everybody else, destroy Tokyo. Lots of fun concepts for the kids. It's not overly hard to grasp the concepts in the game. It's pretty easy to learn, and it's just a lot of fun. You can get games of it done 30 minutes or less. I really like it. I play it with my oldest. I haven't taught my youngest one yet. He's only 5, so I think it's a little bit beyond him just yet. Even though he's kind of learning the basics of Yahtzee, so we're probably not too far off yet. But my oldest, being 13, he still enjoys playing it a lot. So
Yeah, my young daughter, not my 3-year-old, but my older daughter, younger daughter, loves that game. Just the chucking the dice and knocking people out. And I will argue that Yahtzee is actually a far, far, far high level complexity compared to King of Tokyo. At least in grasping the understanding of where to place the dice on your rolls. But
yeah. The strategies behind Yahtzee is way more complicated than King of Tokyo, as you don't have to worry about scoring placements and probabilities and anything like that.
Yeah,
this is a lot more simpler.
Which you don't want to do any of that. You just want to punch Godzilla in the face because your opponent's playing legally distinct Godzilla.
Yeah. I always refer to it as Yahtzee with a theme because when you say Yahtzee, almost everybody has played Yahtzee. So
yeah, and I'm pretty sure, if you say it uses Yahtzee mechanic, they're like, oh, okay, you have 5 dice and you can roll them up to 3 times. Good.
Mm-hmm.
So that was our recommendations for kids games. The next one here, I'm not great on party games. There's very few that I actually like. If you watch the channel much, I generally hate party games on a passionate level. I'm looking at you, werewolf.
James doesn't like people. That's the problem.
James is recommending Corpse Cat. It's Corpse Cat. 100% Corpse Cat.
James is more than 6 people get in my house and I explode. So no party games for me.
No party games. No, I don't like I like big player count games. Those are fun. I hate party games. This party game though, I like, and it can play a good amount of players. I think it's best at 6 for this party game, but you can play up to 8 if you want. And that is the Great Dal Moody. The Great Dal Moody is a completely unfair game. There is nothing fair about the Great Dal Moody. When you play the Great Dal Moody, I froze, didn't I?
Nope, Nathan. Nathan is giving you the best looks right now. It's fantastic.
I hate this game.
Oh, I love this game so much. So you play, and the way it works is it's a trick-taking game of sorts. So you have the Great Dal Moody, the Lesser Dal Moody. If you have 6 or 8 players, you're going to have some merchants. You're going to have the lesser peon and the greater peon. The Great Dal Moody the peon has to do all the work because the Great Dal Moody is too great to have to do anything. So the peon has to shuffle all the cards and deal them out. And at any point, if the Great Dal Moody feels that the peon didn't do a good enough job, all he has to say is reshuffle, and they have to reshuffle. Without looking at the cards. Once all the cards are dealt out, the Great Dal Moody and the Lesser Dal Moody will tax the peon and the lesser peon. The peon has to give their 2 best cards to the Great Dal Moody. The Great Dal Moody is probably going to give them their worst, but could give them whatever they want because it's Great Dal Moody. The Lesser Dal Moody gets 1 from the lesser peon, and he gives whatever or she gives whatever he wants to the Lesser Dal Moody. The merchants keep their cards. To make things worse, the Great Dal Moody leads the first bid. So the whole point of the game is to get rid of all your cards. If you're the first to go out, that's your seating arrangement for the next game. So the cards go from 1 to 12. There's 1 1 and 12 12s. You're just trying to void your hand of these. So you could play all of one number, but the player to your left can only play that number or lower. There's a lot of really cool mean strategy in this game. You can't take it seriously. And you could just make Nathan a peon all night and have him have no chance of getting out. Unless there's the odd chance of doing no taxation, and that's if someone gets 2 jesters, which is very rare and also incredibly hilarious if the peon gets it and then still stays in their same place because of their seating. It's still likely. I love this game. It's fun.
It's basically a game of the winner keeps winning, the loser keeps losing. Now, Peter, can you actually tell us a good game?
So, ouch. All right. So, this is not something I wanted to do. I tried my best to avoid it. I didn't want to do a repeat of any of my previous holiday suggestions. I wanted to put more options out there for people. But in this specific category, even though James hates it and decided we still needed to talk about it, I have not had a party game that I have thought was better than the last time we did this. And I talked about a party game. So I'm going to throw out the exact same game, which is fine. It's still out there and available to everybody. But for me, a great party game is high player count and very little rules. I want something that when the group gets together, whether they're having a really good adult party time, drinking some drinks or not, I can teach the game in like 2 minutes and then everybody can play. No one's feeling left out at any point in time. Everybody can play. And the game says it can play up to 7. I tell you, it can play up to as many people as you want. And it's called Just One. It's incredibly simple.
That is a good one.
I mean, this game, again, I talked about it last time. I'm talking about it again. It's so incredibly simple and easy to teach. All you're doing is you're going to have a card that has 5 words listed on it. And the person who is it holds the card up so everybody else except themselves can see it. And they say a number. That number is 1 through 5. And it determines what word in that round everybody else is going to try to get the person who's it to guess. Everybody has a chance to come up with 1 word as a clue. And then this is the best part of the game right here. After everybody has individually chosen their 1 word to be a clue, then they compare their words with each other. Any word that has been duplicated cannot be used as a clue that round. So all of a sudden, there's a lot of thought going into, okay, I'm going to use this word. No, that was too easy. Somebody else will use that word. I'll use a more difficult word. And then, of course, somebody else had that same thought. And they also choose the more difficult word. And you both still knock each other out. So you can have 7 or more people choosing a word and get down to the time when it's time for the person who's it to guess. And they might only have 1 clue left to guess.
Or none.
And you just lose that round. So incredibly basic, very easy, a very inexpensive game as well. I think you can get it for around $20, cheaper, I'm sure, at some places. It's been around for a few years. I think came out around 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. But as much as I don't love party games, this one is a really good party game. Very easy. It's going to be, again, you teach it in no time, and it's fun. And then they do have a generic scoring thing on the rule book that says, hey, if your group got this many correct out of like so many tries, you're amazing. And if you got this many, you stink really terrible. You guys don't know each other at all. Why are you even at the same party? That Just One, for me, probably still hands down the best party game I've ever played.
That is an amazing game. I love it when I'm like, wait, we think it's something that's completely out of left field. I'm like, I don't even know if they're going to be able to guess it from it.
Yeah, right.
There's no way anyone would even think of this word, and you flip them over and like 2 people have it, and you're like,
and you're like, we might be more compatible than I ever thought. How did you think of that?
Yeah.
So I love Just One. I couldn't come up with a better one to suggest, so I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, it is good. I agree.
Nathan, what about you? Give James a real hard time now.
Well, thought James was going to give you a hard time. because I thought you were building up to Dixit because of the long build up. But okay, so I didn't have to like jump in and protect you, even though Dixit is not my favorite party game. I can see it as a choice because kind of the concept of a party game is as a group of people you like and get along and know a lot about, and Dixit doesn't work well outside of that. So in a party scenario where it's people, close friends, it can work. Any other scenario doesn't work very well. But anyways, that's not my choice. Now, I'm like James. I generally don't like party games. I don't like going to parties either. So I don't have too many to choose from. But one of the few that I played that I like that I probably shouldn't like is Strike. Now, Strike is such a simple game. It kind of sounds like a really dumb game, but it's actually really fun. Basically, in Strike, there's a bowl in the middle of the table, and everybody has dice. And you're chucking dice into this bowl. If you get sets, you get your dice back. You can knock other people's dice to make it into sets to get them back. If you get X's, you lose those dice. And that's really the entire game. And you can roll as many or as few dice as you want. So it's kind of, there's a push your luck element to it. And you just keep going until somebody's out of dice. Very simple, very fun. You can play it no matter how tired you are, no matter what state you're in. It's just fun.
Cricket.
Nobody else, I think, has played it here.
I've never even heard of it until just now.
It's fun. They actually made the one I played it. They made a gladiator one. There's no real theme to the game. It's just like gladiators in an arena. No, you're just chucking dice in a bowl, but it is pretty fun. So I'll give you that. Not quite as good as the Great Dal Moody, where you can.
Yeah, and there's a big argument even with the base game. It's like, oh, is it an arena or is it just a bowl? Can you play it with just a standard bowl you get out of your kitchen?
Yes,
you can.
Yeah. So how about you, Evan? What is your recommendation for a party game?
So party game that requires having a party and a group of people that you want to have inside your house, which is for me is usually a big, this many. But on the rare occasion I do allow outsiders into my Fortress of Solitude. One that I'll go with would actually be Ransom Notes. So I really enjoyed that one. So in Ransom Notes, the box has, I think it's 6 magnetic tins in it, and it has a stack of prompt cards, and everything else in it is magnetic words. So it's going to have random words such as book, and even silly stuff like fart, and hundreds upon hundreds of other words in there. And you're going to take a prompt, and everyone has to take words out of the middle and put them in front of them. And those are what you're going to use to build your prompts to answer the said prompts. And you're supposed to build them in the, cliche Ransom Notes, like cut out of like newspapers and stuff like that, to answer the said prompt. What I like about it, and it solves the one thing I don't like for party games, Cards Against Humanity and stuff like that, that you have one judge that they're the one that determines who wins that, and then it rotates around, and the judge doesn't get to play. Everyone gets to play every single round. You actually spin the box, and whoever the box is pointing to is a judge for that round. So they still get to play in that round. And they pick out of all the prompts. They could pick themselves, but the standing rule is that if everyone feels that they are choosing theirs to win because it's theirs, they can overrule that and make them not win that round. So it kind of puts something in there that keeps it fair. The game plays, like I said, I think it's 6 tins that are in there, but you really could play as many people as you want because there is hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of words in there. You just don't have the nice magnetic tin to put them on. But it's a game that you can play for 20 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the group that you have. The more inebriation, the better usually. But I think it's a good, fun, easy to learn party game that people, even non-board gamers, you could get to play.
So I do have a minor qualm with this, not with the game itself. It's just the availability is a little limited on this. You can still get it, and it's not bad price wise. It's just not widely available right now.
Yeah, you have to get it from the manufacturer. It seems like they have a couple different titles too, and all of them are not bad at all. If you play one you like it, I recommend getting or checking out the other ones. We've got a bunch of them to review. Actually, my wife Kim's reviewed 4 of them so far, and she's liked them all.
Yeah, no, it's a good game, and I do recommend just getting it off their website because that's probably the best way of doing it.
Yeah, and ship it, like whenever they're sending us stuff, like we had it in like 2 or 3 days. Like they're fantastic.
Yeah, they're good. So now we go to our low budget game. I could say Button Chat Games. There's a good pick for any of those. They're only $12 each, but I just had to include this one as my low budget pick because the component quality on this game is amazing. This is a game that I thought should sell for $70 to $80. And its MSRP is $40, but it's frequently like $30 to $20. And that is Planted. In Planted is a drafting game where you're trying to raise up your plants and have them grow to their full potential. And the closer you get to that, the more points you'll gain throughout the game. There's tools that you can get, and there's decorations. You get decorations are the bonus points. Really fun, really fast game. It only goes over 4 rounds. You're only drafting 8 cards. It just flies. You're just trying to get the materials that you need to raise up your plants. You're trying to get new plants. The art's amazing. The component quality is just through the roof. You get amazing tokens for your little suns. You get little water droplets that are gigantic for your water droplets. You get really nice painted wooden bits for your fertilizer. You get the painted thumbs ups. They just put so much love into this game and so much quality into this game. It's just insane. Like even I've had like $100 games where they come with the bags for the stuff, the cloth bags. So they're just a cloth bag. These are really heavy cloth bags with the resource that's supposed to be in it printed on it. They're just so nice and really 100% worth the $40. And it's always on sale for 30 or 20. You just get so much value for it, and it's such a great game. So that is my pick for a low budget game.
Unfortunately, same complaint. Not really available right now, but maybe from the supplier itself.
Oh, it's at Target right now for me.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
It's primarily a Target game, I believe. So
that might be why. Well,
you need to get it from Target.
I was gonna say I've definitely seen it at Target, but James and I have the same Target, so
yeah. I think online you won't have a problem. I don't know if it's a Target exclusive, but I think it's pretty close.
It's not listed to be available online.
Okay.
Anywhere really.
Anyway, Planted, great. Go to your local Target. It's probably gonna may or may not be there, but anyway.
Yeah.
And Evan's I just killed his. Anyway, go ahead, Peter. What is your number one pick for a low budget game?
So low budget game. This one also I thought about for stocking stuffer. And I've done it. I think this might be my last repeat where I just move it around a little bit. It had been I used it at one point for like a 2-player game. And that is Jaipur. I think Jaipur is a phenomenal game. One of the best 2-player games I've ever played. Again, incredibly fast to teach. Very simple to play with tons of replayability though, because you're going to be able to sit down, you're going to play the game in 20-ish minutes or so. You're going to have 3 rounds where you do the exact same thing each round, unless somebody wins the first 2 rounds, and then the game's over right there. And then you're like, okay, we got plenty of time, let's play it again. But the idea here, it's a card game. It's got a marketplace in the middle. Everybody is going to be trading and selling goods. And then the person who trades and sells goods the best is going to win. And it's really great. I like this one a lot. There's the camel cards that someone's trying to maybe get the most camels in their camel herd. That's going to get you some extra points. But it keeps the game flowing quickly. And so this one it's a small game. Again, it's just for 2 players. It's a small deck of cards. You've got some nice cardboard tokens for your coins. But this is another one that I've got a lot of couples that I know in my life. And anytime I meet a new couple or we get to be somewhat friendly, I recommend this one because it's, again, super small, super cheap, easy to take with you on any trips you might be going on. And again, it's like one of the easiest games to learn, but there's like just the right level of like strategy where it's not like the easiest game ever, but there's a little bit of strategy there, a little bit of luck as well. And if you're super competitive, then there's a little bit of tension that happens too, as you continually try to beat each other. So I like this one a lot. Jaipur is great. You're going to easily find it for $20 or less at most places. So that's why I had to put this one. I had to get this one in there again, just because I like it so much. But it's great when it comes to the cost. So you get a really great game for little money. So Jaipur. Nathan.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you want to spend only a little bit of money on?
I always see this at a reasonable price. And I do have to apologize, James. You are right. It must be Planted must be a Target exclusive. I can only find it there.
Okay.
Anyways, so my inexpensive game at this point is considered a classic game. And it's Race for the Galaxy, which I was surprised how inexpensive this was. It's only about $25. It's an excellent game. And I know James has had it broken for him. And yeah, people can break this game if they're not playing in the spirit of the game. But unfortunately, yeah, I also do not play this game very much anymore either, because I always win it. I win every time.
All right. So Race for the Galaxy, I have a couple problems with it. I actually think Terraforming Mars Ares is a much better version of Race for the Galaxy. Race for the Galaxy's biggest problem for me is iconography. Iconography is really hard for a lot of people to grasp. And you're like, wow, okay, I can get it. Yeah, you play Race for the Galaxy, and let's see if you get it the first game. Probably not. It's just odd, and it needs to be more pronounced is the biggest thing. And it takes a couple games, and you're like, to get it. But there is a broken strategy in the game that works most of the time, and that is just to rapidly complete your planets or things, techs you build and stuff. And that's the same thing for Roll for the Galaxy. Actually, the problem translated over to Roll for the Galaxy, which has the same iconography, but oddly, they actually lay it out a little better. So the iconography you can understand better in Roll for the Galaxy than I think you can for the card game. And I believe they're doing a second edition for Roll for the Galaxy, a Race for the Galaxy too, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, granted, I hear that a lot, and I have people, and I have the opposite issues. Like when I played Race for the Galaxy, it's like the first time I played, it's like, oh, wow, this is such clear iconography. Like, and I couldn't understand why people were struggling with it. When I played Race for the Galaxy, I really thought that was like, oh, really obvious. This is like, oh, that's what they want. And I thought it was really cool, the iconography, but I see a lot of people struggle with it. Roll for the Galaxy, I actually struggled with the iconography on. So I don't know if it just worked well with my brain.
Maybe. I don't know. I do like Terraforming Mars Ares a lot. And I think I'm like the people that can get over the fact that it's not Terraforming Mars like it is the big thing. But yeah, it's not a bad pick. I think they're coming out with a second edition, so I would watch out for that if they are. The art's a little meh on the first edition, and some of the expansions are literally horrible, no matter who you talk to, for some of the Race for the Galaxy original ones.
And
go ahead.
And the big reason why I do like this, which since I didn't really talk about that, was it takes that Puerto Rico mechanism of you choose a role, everybody gets to do that action, but if you chose the role, you get a little extra bonus.
Yeah.
And some rounds, everybody might choose the same role, so you really only get one action for the entire round.
Yeah. Another game that's similar that I like a lot is Eminent Domain, which uses the same Puerto Rico style thing. But yeah, I'm not, I mean, you know, could be okay. All right. So, Evan, what is yours?
Well, since I had to replace mine on the quick here, which I was going to let you, James, talk about it. It was like I already got to look at it a little bit, but James got to play. He gets to talk more, which he always likes to do, but not now. No. The one I'm going to talk about is actually Splendor. So Splendor is usually around $35, $40 when you go. I'm going to put it on the low budget because Amazon quite frequently has board games on sale, and this is one that is almost always in that sale list. And when it's on sale, that's where I bought mine from. I got it for under $25. So you can't go wrong with that. It's a good, solid game. So in the game, you are a gem merchant, and you are collecting gems in the form of these plastic discs, and you're using those gems to buy trade routes or mines or anything that are in the same colors of the gems that you're collecting. And once you buy those cards, you can use those as a permanent of that color. And some of the cards will have victory points on them, and I think you're trying to get to 12 or 15 victory points. I can't remember off the top of my head. And the first one to do that wins. There's a lot of strategy in it because there's limited amounts of resources in there. But it's not so over the top that it's very off-putting. It's a very simple game to actually pick up and learn. But I've played it so many different times. I really enjoy it, and it's a good, not expensive game to get.
Yeah, I will say I didn't really like the 2-player experience too much with Splendor. I think it's better with more player counts, but they did correct that because they came out with Splendor Duet, which is the 2-player version. And it gets a little weird with 2 players.
Yeah, it's recommended 3 minimum. I was going to say at Essen they really pushed the 2-player version of that as its own separate game. I haven't got to look at that yet, so I'm not sure what it entails or what it did, but I want to here pretty soon. So
hopefully it doesn't involve a dummy player, because I hate that when they do the dummy player thing. But
Yep.
you know, who knows? It'll be interesting to see. So
They also have the Marvel skin for it too, which I think doesn't really change the game in any way other than
was it the
New art.
Thanos one?
Yeah.
Thanos Rising.
Well, there's really there is no theme to Splendor.
right.
There isn't. There's no theme. It's so you could do whatever, but I think you were trying to get Thanos' stones or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's 50 copies of them. So meh. So now we're gonna do my favorite category, which is the best epic game. What a game is the most epic that you think would be like that board game fan who is just looking for the great thematic epic feel of a game? And for me, it's actually a surprise game that is destroying my top 10. And that is Cthulhu Death May Die. Every single time I keep playing this game, I like it more and more and more. I unfortunately backed the new Kickstarter, which took all my money. But so you can do the late pledge on the new season 3/4 for Cthulhu Death May Die. You can still get the base game. I do not believe you can get season 2 currently, but I know you can get the base game in some places. And you can definitely do a late pledge on that Kickstarter, which you could also get season 2 from it. So you can backtrack a little bit and get that. But the base game is definitely readily available. And technically, you have enough to play a ton of times, up to 12 times with a base game. Because in Cthulhu Death May Die, you take an Elder One and a scenario. You mix them together and you try to punch Cthulhu or whatever the Elder One is to death in the face. And ironically, Cthulhu is the easiest one If we're not talking about the big baby-sized miniature one, if we're talking about the normal one that comes with it.
Which did you pledge for the big baby size Cthulhu?
No, I'm not made of money. Because that was just like $140 just for that. Just for that. I'm like, oh yeah, baby Cthulhu, you can. No, 180. It was 180. I'm like, baby Cthulhu, you could stay. We're in Cthulhu land. I'm good. It only comes with one scenario too. But what I like is, if for myself, if you become a fan of it, getting more of those elder ones is amazing, because it just multiplies the replayability of each of those things. So the base game, it multiplies the replayability of that. Your season 2, season 3, season 4. I could play this game for the rest of my life and never have the same game. Hopefully I live a long time. So we're going to say that. But I love Cthulhu Death May Die. It's really warmed up on me. I think as long as people go in and being like, we're just going to die, let's just do this thing. Because no one survives in the end, whether you kill the guy or not. So, that's my epic game pick. How about you, Peter? What is your epic game pick?
So this one was, I think, the last, as I was looking through the different categories you gave us to talk about, this was the last one that I actually ended up finding my game for, because I had one that I really wanted to put here, but then I was struggling over, should it go here or in the thematic game? Should I just put it in both places? I don't know, because I could just really, I could double down and just put this one in both places. But what I ended up doing was, I have played this game a few times now, and it is Twilight Struggle. You've got a long game ahead of you, 2 to 3 to 4 hours, probably, depending on who you are and how many times you've played it already. But the fact that you are going to play your way through 40 some years of history and reenact the Cold War. I will be honest though, and I'm going to tell everybody, I've played this game, I think, at least 3 or 4 times now, never at a table. I have played the absolute phenomenal digital adaptation for this game that you can get on Steam. It comes with sound effects. When the nuclear option starts to ratchet up, you're getting the sirens that you associate with missiles being launched. But this is a game for 2 players where you're going to reenact the struggle between the USSR and America in the Cold War. Right? Yeah, all of a sudden get like, yeah. So
no,
yeah,
yes,
all of a sudden I was like, I said USSR and everybody was like, what?
No, it's the US versus the cheese manufacturers.
Right. So you're going up against each other, and you have event cards that you have the ability to play as you're trying to struggle to get different countries of the world to side with you. And the fun possibility that there is the nuclear war option that could happen to just everybody loses. Obviously, nuclear war has happened. Like I said, I've played it a few times now. The fact that you're playing a game and learning some history is really fun for me anyways. I like it. It's a big game. 2 to 3, maybe 4 hours long. If you're playing it on the table, it's going to take over your table. If you play the digital adaptation, it's going to be a little bit shorter. You don't have to worry about setting up and tearing down the game, which is fantastic. But I will slide in there. If you like the sound of this game, but you want to try a game that has a little bit of the same mechanics to see if you even are interested in going bigger with Twilight Struggle, you can start small with Watergate. And James is looking for it right now. Yeah, get it down. Watergate is a fantastic, miniature version of Twilight Struggle. Watergate is another historical game where it's 2 players and you are reenacting the presidency and the fall of the presidency of Richard Nixon as one player will be playing as, I can't remember the name of the newspaper who went up against him, but then also
Washington
Post and the Nixon administration. Same idea where you have event cards to play. There's this tug of war that is happening as you're trying to get to work with some of the people in his group and get them to actually side with you. There's this beautiful back and forth, but it's a much more condensed version of the mechanics that you get in Twilight Struggle. So if you're like, oh, Twilight Struggle sounds really cool, but I don't know that I can want to do a 3 to 4 hour possible game with all this stuff all over the table, get Watergate. It's cheaper and it's condensed. But if you fall in love with Watergate and then you want to step it up, I can't recommend Twilight Struggle enough. But again, I'm personally recommending the digital adaptation because it makes it so much more streamlined for you to play. And you get some really cool graphics and audio that go along with it. So that's my pick for epic game. You're immersed in the theme and the history of the event in which you are reenacting. And I think it's great.
I love Twilight Struggle. I'm the worst person to play Twilight Struggle with because I will sit there when you play a card and I will talk about the history. Oh, that happened. Well, this is, such and such.
So if you're playing with Evan, you're in for a day.
Yeah, you're in for
done.
A while.
That's the whole day.
But I will concur with Peter. Playing the digital adaptation, it is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And you will accidentally lose that game so many times because the AI is smart enough to pick up your mistake and go, oh, you played that card. Well, because you played that card, I'm going to do this, which will make you lose because you were the one that played that card originally, which is like, oh, well, crap.
Well,
I've done that so many times.
Quit playing the AI, Evan. Play me. I'm not nearly as good as the AI.
Well, do you have a day?
I do. I'll play it with you. It'll be fun. I haven't played it now in a few months. That's actually maybe almost even a year. So I'm totally down for playing again. You tell me a day you're off, I'm there.
I will say I have a perfectly pristine copy.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
I had a physical copy and I sold it once I got the digital port.
I do have to agree. This is an excellent game. I've only played the physical game. It's GMT, so the rules can be quite intense to learn.
It's epic for a reason. There's a lot happening.
And it is intensely stressful, but in the best possible way.
Yep.
Like you care about every card that's played and what that's going to do to your strategy and how you're going to react to that. And I think I have to pick up the digital app now.
Oh yeah, if you have not played the digital,
Oh.
you got to get it. You got to get it, Nathan. It's so good.
That means now that if you pick up the digital app, then 2 of you are gonna have to record a playthrough.
Oh, I'm there.
Well,
I'm there.
James,
Awesome.
if you get the digital app, then we could have a
do
guild
we have
tournament.
do we have a
A
tournament?
guild tournament.
We have a tournament.
Yeah. So I'll just be basically doing the editing while you guys beat me, and then have another tournament.
Perfect.
Well,
I like it.
My strategy is just to bore you to death till you disconnect.
Like, take a turn, dude. It's gonna time out.
I have a feeling that it'll be end up with Peter against Evan, and Evan will win in the end.
Oh, ouch. Peter,
Interesting.
ouch.
Interesting. Okay.
I think that's fighting words there.
So I think Nathan, you're
Yeah,
next
Nathan's
up.
up. What's his epic game?
Epic game.
I got so distracted by the epicness of your choice that
Well, I'm so glad that I apparently chose the most epic of epic games, but we'll see what you guys say.
I switched this last minute because I thought James would have talked about this one, so I switched up my choice to Star Wars Outer Rim. Now, this is an epic game with a relatively small table presence compared to something like Zaya, which was my other thought, which takes up a massive table. You cannot play Zaya on a small table. Star Wars Outer Rim gets you pretty much anything you want to do. You can go for trading, you can go for bounty hunting, you can go for basically spycraft. You're going and finding these contacts and getting them to join your team and getting points that way. So it's a sandbox game that gives you lots of options, lots of ways to win the game. You get to upgrade your ships, and it's just got everything you could want from this type of game. And it's Star Wars.
And it's Star Wars. Yeah, the sandbox game that is Star Wars. I want to play this game again. It's so good.
All right. I will say that if you guys are in and around the area, the Butler Library, we have a game day.
We do.
In January. Check out our Facebook page for the invite and the dates and all the little good stuff on there. But I will be running Outer Rim. So
I'm apparently not running a board game because I'm playing Outer
You're playing
Rim.
Outer Rim. Exactly. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Amazing game. So yes, okay, Nathan, you get a pass this time, I suppose. All right, Evan. Crush us with your epicness.
So epic game. I've been kicking around, flip-flopping in between this one and the theme game. And I'm not sure which one I'm going to put. So I'm just going to take it and go with it, what I have written. So for epic game is actually a game that I've had you, James, and you, Peter, over at my house to play. And that's Merchant's Cove. So Merchant's Cove, it is done by Final Frontier Games. It is this massive board that you are playing as a merchant in this town, and you're selling your goods to these adventurers that are coming in. And what's really awesome with this game is in the base game, you get 4 different merchants that you can play as. And then they have 3 other expansions that add more merchants that you can be in. All the merchants have different abilities, are selling different goods, and how they make those goods is completely different from each other. They take a lot of different board games out in the world, use a lot of the mechanics that work in those games, distill them down into those merchants. So you're all working against each other to make these goods. They're all color coded to the merchants that can buy those goods. You also are drafting out of a bag of the merchants and putting them on ships. And when the ships get full, they come down to the docks. You get to decide which docks they go to. And depending on which docks they go to is how much you can sell these goods or what they're buying. There's a whole bunch more also into this game that I'm not even going to go in because I could go on for quite a while talking about it. But it's this gigantic game. It's fully thematic of exactly what you're doing, and I just cannot describe it in any other way than it's just an epic table presence, epic gameplay, super fun. I really enjoyed it. It was fantastic when we got to play it.
Yeah, and talk about asymmetric gameplay. You can't get more asymmetric. Well, you maybe can, but that is really asymmetric player boards, just completely different. This is a game that I think Nathan would love. He unfortunately didn't get to play it with us. I got to play it with Peter and Evan, right? There's the 3 of us, yeah. And I really liked the time cosmonaut or whatever, chromonaut that was playing. Chronomancer. And I think I can crush with it next time. Made a couple mistakes, and I think it was, it's obviously my first game and my fault. But I think that it's just really interesting that when you play through a game and you're like, I play this completely asymmetric board. There's so many other asymmetric boards that are really awesome. But oh my gosh, I'm just thinking about the board I played and how I could do it better. I want to play that one again. But then there's so much replayability because I actually want to master the other ones too. And they're all very interesting. There wasn't a board where I was like, no. It was those are all very interesting. And then they had the Kickstarter with more of them. And I'm like, I want to play the one with dragons. I want to raise dragons. I want to be a baker.
It's 4 in the base game, 3 expansions. 3 expansions. And then they Kickstarted the bigger box, which has a small expansion with it. And there are 5 more merchants in that. And then there was a game they put out in between Merchant's Cove and the bigger box called Barnwood Grove, and they put a additional merchant available in that one. So there's I think that makes 13 possible merchants to play in this game.
I'm sorry. You want this merchant? Go buy this other game. That's hilarious. That cracks
It
me
was
up.
effectively
I love
what
it.
they did.
I love it. This game is so popular. Every game we bring out from now on will have a new merchant, and you just got to buy that game to get it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's cool though, because
it's so cool. I love it. I love it.
Evan, is this the one that he who cannot be named beat me by 1 point? Is this
Yes. Yes,
okay.
Peter beat you
that
by one.
No,
he named
what
him.
is the
He
point of
named
he
him.
who cannot be named if you name the person that can't be named?
We're talking about Peter, right?
No, you can't name that.
Everybody, if you're missing the point, I beat James by 1 point at this game.
If you're missing the point,
The 1 point.
point.
The best part is, we talked about this before, is so the game plays in 3 rounds. After the first round, Peter was so adamant, the Chronomancer's broken, James is going to run away with this game, and it's terrible.
I could not see how we were going to come back from
I was
from
like,
that.
I won this.
Won it. I was sure he had won it in 1 round.
And then, bam, 2 and 3 happen, and Peter just annihilates James by those rounds. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
We get
like, I can make gold things. I have so many gold things.
We get
And
so
then
much
we
joy.
Sell them.
We get so much joy out of beating James. It's fantastic.
And
fun.
that's
I loved it.
one of the cool things with the game too is, like I said, all the goods are color coded, but as the meeples come down, there's a finite amount of them, which I don't think any of us caught on. So James was building yellow goods out the wazoo, and then we only saw one or 2 other yellow ones the rest of the game, and he still had goods that he built in round 1
Just
sitting on
couldn't
his
do
shelf.
anything with them. Just
I
couldn't
had
do anything.
all the goods that were yellow. Like I had every yellow that I could put out, and I'm like,
yeah, you won't make that mistake again. Yeah, you won't make that mistake again though.
Yeah,
now that you
a
know.
yellow merchant came onto the ship, and we're like, all right, we're gonna flood these other ships to send them, so he's stuck out there.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a great game. Any game you think about afterwards, like Innis, is amazing.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm sorry, I hate this choice because I haven't played this.
I'm watching Nathan down there just all sad.
Actually, you cannot get this anywhere unless you have a store that specializes in Kickstarter games.
You can probably late pledge the big box. They've just finished. And
that's true. That's true.
Or they
but you won't get it by Christmas if you late pledge it.
No.
But they did a script. They did a scripted mod that the company actually paid to build, so it is available on TTS if you want to try it out. Which I haven't. It's and I messed with it. It's really good.
And why haven't we done this?
Because we're lazy.
Pretty much exactly that.
Add it to the list.
That was Epic Games. This is going to be casual games. And I recently played a game that I love. And I would have talked about it earlier in the beginning, but then I would have been talking about it now. And that is Flamecraft. Flamecraft is an amazing game where you are working with artisan dragons. You are like basically like Hiccup. And you can talk to these dragons. I don't think you could talk to dragons, but you can talk to these dragons.
Yeah.
And
talk to dragons.
These dragons have magical breath and they can create things. So each different type of dragon can create different things. Like they can make baked goods, they can make swords, and the art is amazing. And your turns are super simple. You're going to do one of 2 things, period. You are going to go to a place and gather goods, or you're going to enchant an item. That's it. That's all you do on your turn. What makes it amazing, so it's casual in that way, but what makes it amazing, as the game goes by, your turns become more and more epic. Every time you go to a place, you're like, I'm going to gather goods. You're like, here's goods. I got so many goods. Or you're going to go there and you get to go and you're in a enchant a place. And you're like, oh, great. I get this really cool points for completing this, like basically like, what do you call it? This order fulfillment. But then I get to fire off all the dragons that are in that area and I get all this stuff. It's really cool. It has a really great build up. It goes really smoothly, super easy to teach. It actually teaches itself in the fact that it game builds up as you go. So when you get these dragons down, you're like, oh, cool, this dragon does this. I know how that works. We add another dragon to that area. Oh, cool, I know how that works. I get to fire off all these dragons. I know exactly how all these works. Great game, great art, great component quality. Even in the game that I got, which is not the Kickstarter version, it's the base version, it's perfectly fine. I don't think that you need to spend a ton of money on the Kickstarter one. I would just say, just get the base one, see if you like it. And then if you really think that you need to have wooden components for this stuff, they do have upgrade kits you can purchase and bling it out just the same. But that is my casual game that I think is epic too.
Yeah, we can't stop talking about it right now because one, like you said, you can get the base game or the regular purchase, but that one comes with the neoprene mat, which is awesome. Yeah, comes with the neoprene mat.
Yeah.
But what's killing me is I have a friend who loves dragons. And so I saw the art for this game before I even knew it was turned into a game, which I think James said, like there was art and then somebody said this should be a game. And then they made the game with that artist.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal art. So I bought this game. I pre-ordered this game for that friend. And now I'm a little sad to give it away. It's sitting in my house. It's finally here. And she's coming over tomorrow. And we're going to give it to her. But I'm hoping we get to play it before she takes it home. So we'll see what happens.
Don't worry about this game here. Push it off the shelf and be like,
no,
I got you the card game Dragoness.
She's a dragon lover and she loves casual games. So this is like the game for her. Cannot wait. But I'm hoping that we love it so much. I'm just going to go buy another copy for us.
Yeah.
So
I think you will.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this one, James. Great choice for that one. The other one that I'm going to talk about is the Isle of Cats. The Isle of Cats is a fantastic casual game where the premise is that you are going to an island where the cats are endangered because of a Lord Vesh, who I believe is like a pirate kind of guy or whatever. He's going to come there. He's going to destroy the island. All the cats are going to die. You're there to rescue these cats. So it's cooperative in that way. The theme is cooperative, but it's not, because everybody is going to be trying to do a better job than the other people at rescuing the cats. The cats are in different families. The families are colors, and you're going to be drafting as well as you play through this one. And you will be getting the cats off the island. And when you get them onto your boat, this is where you get to play your game of Tetris, your solitaire game of Tetris, as you try to get the different shaped cats and the different colored cats to fit together to cover the most area of your boat. You want to use as much of the area of your boat as possible, but you also want to try to keep those like colored cats together so that you're keeping the family of cats together. And you're fitting them on there. You're going to play through, I think it's just 5 rounds. So it's not a super long game, but it's a nice, like probably 45 minutes to an hour that you're going to play this. And it's like, I love the polyomino, the different shapes that the cats take on, that you're just sitting there and you're trying to puzzle it together as best as possible. I love cats. I love the idea that you're out there rescuing these cats. The scoring mechanism, everybody has like, I think it's called lessons. And as you play the game, you can gain more lessons. And that is other ways for you as an individual to score more points in the game if you can do it properly. Like if you can fulfill that lesson, you're going to score in ways that not everybody else is going to. So really, really interesting, a lot of fun. Again, very casual. It's not like a big gotcha game or anything like that. Definitely fits this criteria. It's one that I've only been able to play it once, but I'd love to play it again because I think there's just a lot to be had from that game. So that is my choice for best casual game for this holiday season, the Isle of Cats.
That's a great casual game too, for the fact that it has the regular mode, then it has the family friendly mode, which even slims down the complexity even more.
Oh, that's fun, because I didn't even know about that. I've only played it one time. I didn't know about the family mode. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a great game. Great pick. Yeah, the family mode's amazing on it.
All right.
I like polynomial style games.
I do too. It's good. Nathan,
Oh.
casual game.
Well, first, some notes. I did find Merchant's Code is available from Final Frontier Games from the website directly, and I almost immediately hit buy. But I remember,
actually, I don't think you'll actually. I think that is a game that has your name all over it, so I don't think you would regret having it.
well, I did set a rule for myself: no buying games until after Christmas, because I don't know.
Stupid.
It's a terrible
Rules
rule.
are
That's a
made
terrible
to be
rule.
broken.
It's a terrible
horrible.
rule.
You know why? Because what if other people get you board games and it's a duplicate?
That's why I don't want to buy games for myself before
But then
Christmas.
how do I get free games?
Click it. Click it, Nathan. Click it.
Yeah,
Do
the other
it.
Do it. Do it.
All right, Nathan, what's
We're
your
the
casual
worst.
game?
Yeah,
Well,
casual game, Nathan.
the other note I was going to mention that Flamecraft is also not widely available, but you can get it from Lucky Duck Games directly
You can buy it on Amazon.
It's just coming out right
and
now.
Amazon. But yeah, but
You can
Amazon
buy
is
it
not.
it was on Miniature Market the other day. It was on Amazon the other day.
Actually, it's not currently on Amazon. It's only on Card House.
Okay. All right. Sure.
Either
But
way, either
I'm
way.
sure it'll be back on Amazon soon enough.
Sure.
What's your
Anyways,
casual game?
My casual game, sorry. Since nobody else talked about it, I will talk about Wingspan. This is probably the epitome of casual games right now. It was really popular when it first came out, like to the point where you couldn't even get it because it was so popular. It was constantly out of stores, and they've been supporting it with expansions that are really excellent and are also selling out as soon as they come into stores. But right now, because it's been out for a little while, the base game is readily available. Finally. It goes on and off, but it's at the point where it's been out long enough. You can get it if you want it. And Wingspan is a tableau building game. Basically, you are putting birds down into 4 different environments, and those 4 different environments have actions attached to them. And you choose from one of those actions, and you get the basic action, but you also trigger the different powers on the birds that you put in that environment every time you take that action. So it builds as you go. So it's an engine builder as well. And towards the end, you're getting lots of cool things happening, but you also have to keep in mind at some point you have to transition from building your engine and getting more things happening to scoring points, and make sure you don't wait too long to do that. The first time you play it, if you played against somebody who's played a few times, you're probably not going to win, but you're not going to care too much because you'll enjoy the game anyways.
Yeah, Wingspan is a great casual pick. It's one of my top 100 games. It keeps nudging itself down that list, but it's still good. And I love, you're right, the expansions are amazing for it. If anyone ever asks me to play Wingspan, I'll rip it off my shelf and we'll play it 100%. So good pick.
And if you're having a bad day and you need to just have a better day, watch Peter's playthrough of Wingspan, and you're just going to feel better about life.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, here's our happy little bird in the corner. This little bird. It's great. That is like the greatest playthrough we have. Period. 100%.
It does make you happier. We do
it's
call
so
it
good. So good.
Peter's Bob Ross video.
Yeah. So good. So Evan, how about you?
So for casual game, I kind of kicked around. Well, what was I going to pick? And I couldn't find a good criteria to match that. And then I thought about a play of this one game that my wife and I were playing, and as we were playing it, we were talking about our day and things that were going on, and I think that kind of encapsulated casual game. If we could actively play the game and talk about everything that was going on, or our days and whatnot, and that's Whirling Witchcraft. So in Whirling Witchcraft, it's an engine building game. You start off with so many resources, and you start off with 4 spells in your hand. You play a spell, and it will tell you how you convert some of your ingredients you have into other ingredients. Whenever you convert them, it goes into your little cauldron. And then once everyone does that, you pass it to the other player. They take those and put them onto their board, and you repeat that. Now, the key with that is you're drafting these spells as they go around, because after your turn, you hand it off to the next person. And you're going to get a cauldron that's going to slowly build more and more things in it. When you overflow your component area, your opponent gets however much of that component overflowed. And if they can get up to 5 resources, they win. So you have to kind of pay attention to exactly what you're getting fed to every turn, and kind of incorporate that into your engine. There's a lot of things going on, but nothing that you have to super pay attention to, because you're always going to be fed pretty much the same thing every turn. So once you see that, you can accommodate that accordingly. And it was just such a not heavy game that, like I said, my wife and I, we were talking about our day as we were just continuously playing round after round of this. So I thought that was a pretty good definition of casual game.
I approve. It's good. All right. So best high player count game to get someone for Christmas. Mine, I believe, plays up to 7. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it does have a high player count, either 6 or 7. And that is Libertalia. I really like Libertalia, and I really like the Stonemaier Games new adaptation of it, which is Winds of the Galecrest. Libertalia Winds of the Galecrest. It is an amazing sort of hand management style game. At the beginning of the game, everyone has the same hand of cards. You're going to be playing these cards throughout the game to try to gain loot, and all the different cards have different powers. Well, as you play them, you're spending these cards. The cards that are left in your hand will carry over to the next round. So at round 2 and 3, people will have different cards in their hand, but no one will ever have had a different pool of cards for the entire game. And there's a lot of strategy and Peter played as captain, so that's not available anymore, so I don't have to worry about that overpowered card showing up for him. And then how it deals with, after you play that card, they go down into your tableau, and they still can perform, I believe, their anchor functions or whatever, and score different things towards the end of the round. So a lot of really cool things, a lot of really high player interaction in the game, but not a lot of super take that in the game. So really like it. Really think it's great with a high player counts, and that's Libertalia.
All right. I am going to talk about, for my high player count game, a game that says it can be played 3 to 6 player. It can only be played with 5 to 6 player. And when I say it can only be played with 5 to 6 players, it can only be played with 6 players. You have to have as high of a player count as you can with this game. So you want to get 5 of your best friends, and you're going to make each other really, really upset. So I'm talking about Dune, the board game. This one could have fit into thematic game, one of the best thematic games. This one could fit into epic games for me as well. I chose this time to throw it in here in the high player count game because specifically you got to play with that highest possible player count. So in the game, it's area majority. There is drafting involved. There's bidding, more like bidding than drafting specifically, but you're bidding for cards. Everybody has a specific house in the Dune universe that they are playing as. Each of those houses have specific asymmetric powers that they're not only asymmetric powers, but they they on purpose break rules of the game. There are rules, and then there's a house that can break that rule. Everybody can have one person that is a traitor in the game, except for House Harkonnen, which can have 4 or like 6 or something. They get a whole bunch. When everybody else you literally can't take handwritten notes during the game unless you're House Atreides. You can take notes because you have prescience. It's awesome. If you're the Bene Gesserit, you get to choose a round and a house. And if they win that round, they don't win, you do, because you said it was going to happen and you make it happen. There's the possibility of making alliances, breaking alliances. You can backstab each other. A really interesting fighting mechanic with cards and tokens and a wheel. And when you lose your guys, you lose all the ones that you put on the wheel. Just everything about this game. I've watched it played multiple times. I've played it multiple times. You can watch our playthrough of it on our YouTube channel, which was a blast playing it with everybody that was there. But again, I specifically said, you know what, I'm going to put this in this category because it only shines when you can have all of that happening at one time. And so you got to play with 6 player counts. There are a couple expansions to the game as well, which add new houses to the game. I'm not going to say that they're necessary because the base game as is plays phenomenally well. And you're probably going to be playing for a good, I would say, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, depending on the way that the game goes. If it gets played all the way through 10 rounds, which is as many rounds as it can go, it can finish before that though. If people are playing pretty strategically and well. So high play count, still readily available in places. And it's popular enough, and they're putting out more expansions. If it runs out of stock somewhere, the stock will be refilled pretty quickly. So that is one that I would highly recommend for high player count. Get all your best friends together and dash each other's dreams with Dune.
Yes, I highly agree with that. It is, I think, a 6-player only game.
Yeah.
It's perfect that way.
Yeah.
So yeah. How about you, Nathan?
Well, Peter stole my first choice.
That means I win.
My second choice, I looked up and you can't get it for less than $450. So that's not going to be what that was, Empire's Age of Discovery. But so I'm going to go with Firefly. Now, it says it only plays up to 5, but I played it with 6 or 7, and I thought it played actually really well. It does tend to be a long game with the higher player counts, but if you are really getting into the game and telling kind of stories and being silly about it and just kind of having fun with the game, it doesn't really matter. And the other big thing is, I didn't realize how inexpensive you can get this for right now. The price range for this right now is like in 30s to 70s. So it's a wide range in prices depending on where you go for this game. But it is it also could be considered a very epic game where can do just about anything. It's a sandbox game. You can go basically trying to deliver goods. You can do legal activities. You do some gambling, push your luck. You can gather crew from the show, getting all the characters you love into the one ship, and then hopefully not lose them or have them stolen away. And you are supposed to be doing objectives, but it's very easy to forget to do the objectives and just have fun.
Yeah, it's a really great game. I call shenanigans on the high player count part, but yeah, good game. Good game though. So how about you, Evan?
So for higher player count, I chose Tortuga 1667. It plays up to 9 players. I've played it 7, 8, 9. I've played it with the higher player counts, and I played it with lower player counts. Does not play as well in the lower player counts. You need a lot of people to play it for it to be a lot of fun. So in the game, it's a pirate-based game where half the people are English, the other half are French. If you have an odd number, one person is the Dutch. And a Spanish galleon is going past the island Tortuga in a docks, and there are 2 ships there. And the idea is you want your nationality to get as much gold before the Spanish Armada shows up. However, you don't know the allegiance of anybody else that is on there. There is a little bit of gold on Tortuga, so if you become the governor of Tortuga, you can move some of the gold around. Otherwise, you need to be the captain of the ship, and you order the peons beneath you to move the gold from one side of the ship to the other off the Spanish galleon. But by doing so, you're saying your allegiance, or are you, if you're being tricky. What's really cool is the captain is always the one that orders the people on the ship. The first mate can call a mutiny against the captain. And then you have the cabin boy, which does the actual moving of the gold. And what's really cool is during the game, you can do your specific action of where you are on the ship, if you're the captain or whatever. There's 4 cards that are out. You can look at a card and get the hidden information. You can force a person to choose between 2 cards, and they have to flip one. And what's key about the cards is toward the bottom of the deck is a Spanish Armada. As soon as that comes up, the game is over, and whoever's side has the most gold wins. So you're slowly petering through these cards, which some of them are good, some of them are bad. And there's a lot more that goes into it, but that's a super brief overview with it. It's real fun. If you got a good group of guys that are playing it and you can have a lot of fun making fun of each other as you're playing it, the game's fun. It's great.
Yeah, it's one I've always wanted to play. Good pick. So
that was Tortuga
yeah.
1667, you said, right?
Yep.
It looks really nice, and
It does.
could it easily fit into your stocking stuffers or your inexpensive games?
Yeah,
So it looks small.
Facade games, the production quality is phenomenal. Every game looks like a book, which is great. The only downside to the game is the player mat that rolls out is nice quality. It is tiny because it fits into this book. So if you have 9 people, like everyone's like kind of crowded around that, and you don't have room to kind of do anything else. So I wish they had a bigger version of that, but they don't, alas. So
all right, so now on to our suggestions for the best 2-player games to give to people for Christmas. And for me, I would be remiss if I didn't pick this one, because some people say they play 100 some times of a game and they don't. Well, I played this well over 1,000 logged times, and this is playing them 2 to 3 times each of those 1,000 logged times. I play this game in sets multiple times, normally with my wife at night, and that is Battle Line or Shot and Taunton. Really doesn't matter which one you pick. Shot and Taunton has just like sort of a Irish theme to it, or Scottish theme to it, and Battle Line has a sort of like Legion feel to it. In Battle Line, you're going to have 9 flags on there. You're trying to capture, oh my gosh, I got tired today. You're trying to capture 5 of them, or 3 in a row. That's it. You're going to be using formations of cards as sets, and the strongest set will win that flag. That's all the game is. It's just a lot of fun. And the command cards that you can pick up are really cool because you have to think about them. They're very powerful. However, if you play a command card, your opponent can always play 1 more than you have played. So if you play a command card, that means your opponent can play 2. But if your opponent plays a command card and you don't, they effectively can never play a command card until you do. So there's a lot of really cool strategy on when you play the command cards and when you don't. So how strong your hand is versus how strong their hand is. Really cool game. Love it. I haven't got tired of it. And like I said, I've played it more than humanly anyone should ever play it. So I do recommend that game as a great 2-player game. And that's Battle Line or Shot and Taunton, doesn't matter. Don't get Shot and Taunton 2. That's hot garbage. That's a horrible game. I don't know what they were thinking, but Shot and Taunton or Battle Line is amazing.
All right. And so for my 2-player game is I'm going to actually talk about the one that I mentioned at the very beginning of the show today. And that was one of the games I've been playing lately, and that's Targi. Targi is a great 2-player game where you're going to have a slightly modular board that you're playing with. The board is made up of cards that you're going to lay out. The border cards are all numbered 1 through 16. And then inside of that board, you're going to have goods cards and tribes cards. And those are going to be gained by the players to either gain more goods or to start building their tableau of tribe cards. And the way that you play, though, is that once you have the board set up with your border cards and then 9 cards in the middle, is that each player has 3 pieces that they're going to be using to place around the edge of the board on those edge cards. And when you do that, the tug of war that happens is that when you put your piece on one of the border cards, that means the border card on the opposite side of the board, your opponent cannot go there. So they have to choose another border card. And then you're going to place one, and then they're going to place one. And by the time all 3 of yours are out there, again, they can't be opposite of each other unless they're opposite of one of your own. And then you're going to draw a line between your pieces, and you're going to place your other 2 pieces that pinpoint the cards where they meet. And that's where you're going to be trying to gain tribes cards, and you're going to be trying to gain goods cards. So in the game, you're going to be gaining dates and salt and pepper. So you're gaining all of those goods, and then you're going to be turning in goods to pay for tribe cards. And your tribe cards can kind of end up becoming somewhat of a set collection game, because when you lay them out in your tableau, you get extra points if you can have 4 of the same kind in a row, or 1 of each kind in a row at the end of the game. And all of your tribes cards have either some of them have like immediate scoring or immediate benefits, and some of them have end game scoring benefits. So you're getting to build this tableau. But again, that tension is really in how you're placing your player pieces, so that you want to make sure that you then get to crisscross in 2 places on the inside. And you're trying, usually there's at least 1 or 2 tribes cards out there that both players want. And so you're playing a little game of chess. How can I place my pieces so that I get it, but you don't? And then there's even 1 border card that gives you the ability to, once your piece goes in the middle, you can then move it to one of the other cards that doesn't have anybody on it. So that's also one that gets used a lot. But Targi is a really, really well thought out 2-player game that I just think is highly replayable. And my understanding is that there's also an expansion for it that does a great job of changing the game up a bit after maybe the base game has become, maybe you've really got your strategy down for the base game and you're ready to mix it up a little bit. There's the expansion for it as well. So this is a game that, again, I like 2-player games a lot. I really enjoy them. I like the tug of war that most of them try to have. Some of them do a really, really good job of it, and this is one of those. I don't see myself getting tired of playing this one anytime soon, and I keep trying to find new people to introduce to it, because again, all I got to do is find 1 other person and I can play this game. So one of my new favorite 2-player games, Targi.
Great game. All right, Nathan, what's your 2-player game?
So, like Peter, I hate to repeat, and I think I might have talked about this last year, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. And that's a nice, light, chess-like game called Onitama. This is a pretty little game that comes in a kind of cylinder squarish box. That's not a great description. But it's so simple. Yeah, there we go. It looks like a liquor box.
It does.
But anyways, hopefully the kids don't know what that never mind. Anyways, so in Onitama, you have basically a simplified chess game. You got your king, you got a couple pawns, and you have set movements that are going to rotate around. So basically you have two possible movements. You use one of them, pass it to your left, take the one on your right, and it keeps going around. You're basically swapping possible movement styles with your opponent. And it adds a nice little variability to the game without making it a complex game. I'd actually call this significantly simpler than chess, but more fun and more dynamic.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a good game. It's a great game, like a shelf staple game too, to have for anything too. All right, Evan, what's your recommendation for a 2-player game that's great for Christmas?
So I'm not going to really hone in on a game, but a group of games. And that is pretty much any game in the Unlock series. So Unlock series of games, it's almost like an escape room in a very small box. You go through and you have to solve a puzzle of some sort by going through the cards. You'll be picking up clues as you go and items to help solve things later down the road. And there are so many of them, and you can kind of tailor them to what said person that you're going to be gifting them to, what they like or what they might not like. You can kind of find one that will fit them, because there's Star Wars ones, there's silly ones, kind of spooky ones, all sorts of them. And they also have locks for the difficulty level of them, so you can, if you have someone that's really good at puzzles and whatnot, you can kind of get a harder one for them or really light one. I've gotten a couple from James out of our library that my wife and I have played. So yeah, I'm not going to really talk about one in particular. It's just such a really good line of them, and it's fun. You can play them with 2 people, you can play them with more, but really 2 is probably an ideal number to do with them. So
yeah, agree. They're awesome. And I think 2 players is the best count for that too, because you get more players and it just gets really jumbled and it's hard to get everyone in there. So I think 2 players is the best count for that, or solo, 2 or solo.
Yeah, and it's a small card, so you can't get too many people, because then everyone's like hunched over the card, and it just.
All right, so for our last category, this is going to be my favorite category, and that is the best other than Epic. So I guess I have 2 favorites, and it's going to be best themed game. And for me, the game that I think that in my collection has hands down theme embedded in the entire thing, and it can't be separated from it. So I can't put a different theme on this game. That is the game. And I firmly believe Mansions of Madness is the most thematic game I have, period. It really feels like Cthulhu. If you like Cthulhu or any of that mythos in there, like everything just works with it. And it's app assisted, and it takes all the admin that was in the first edition and removes it for you. And it has music, and it has voice acting in it. I can't even, like, if you watch any of our stuff, I love Mansions of Madness. It is such an amazing game. They just hit it out of the park. I don't even know how they did half the stuff they did in it. It's just amazing. And that is my number 1 themed game that I recommend for anyone on anyone's Christmas list. Especially if you're a H.P. Lovecraft fan, that is the game. So that is my themed game. How about you, Peter?
All right, so I've been waiting to get here because I've been doing my due diligence and I've been paying homage to all of the wonderful board games that are out there for everybody to play. But I step away from board game to the better game, to the role-playing game. And I'm going to say that my game that I think everything, the entire mechanics of this game are all to serve the theme. And that game is right there. Okay, you can't see, my finger disappeared all of a sudden. It's right there, right here. And that is Alien. Alien, by the role-playing game by Free League Publishing. It is phenomenal. There are a lot of really great role-playing games out there, but not always do the rules and mechanics of the game bleed the theme of the game. And this game is a body horror, space, sci-fi horror. Oh, wow. Oh, give it, James. Give it, James. Role-playing game. And so if you like sci-fi, if you've watched the Alien movies, this is a role-playing game where they have two ways to play the game. You can play a campaign style based game where you can build a character, continue playing that character to tell a story ongoing. That's an okay way to play the game. I think the way that this game is meant to be played is the cinematic version of the game. And that is where you're playing usually something that's going to be one, maybe two shot, depending on how long you have to play with your friends. I recommend trying to get into the one shot if you can, because I think it's going to live in your brain better that way. But the idea here is that you go into the game. If you've ever seen an alien movie, you know eventually the aliens arrive and everyone dies, unless you're James and you're playing an android. But everybody's going to probably die. And so the great thing that I like about it is in the game, in the cinematic version, it's broken down into acts, 3 acts. The person playing Mother is running the game, and everybody gets their secret goals for that act. And normally those goals are probably going to conflict with one another. And they're gonna make it hard for you to overcome things together. And so as everyone is playing to those goals and to the strengths and weaknesses of their character, you watch as people slowly kind of clash with one another, or they form up into groups. And you will have betrayers more than likely in the game, people who decide my goal is more important than the group goal and I'm going to go do my thing. Yeah, they're around here somewhere. But in the end, the aliens do arrive, and the way that they have it for the combat is just so tense and fun. And then when you roll the dice to see how the alien kills people, there's so many great options for how the gruesome death is going to take place. So if you think that you love alien movies, or you know that you love the alien movies, you think you might want to play a role-playing game, even if you've never played a role-playing game before, I highly recommend this one. There's a lot of great videos on the web to show you how to play this, one of which is us playing the game. One of the most fun I've had running a game, period. I had a great time playing it with these guys. But yeah, it's just every single part of this game bleeds the theme, and it's so phenomenal. The stress mechanic, watching everybody slowly roll more and more dice, which supposedly gives them a better chance to succeed, but also gives them a better chance to just go insane with stress, is just so much fun. So that is my game, Alien the Role-Playing Game by Free League Publishing. Go out there and get it now. It's good.
It is amazing. I had a lot of fun playing that. And it's very stressful too. I went in like,
oh yeah,
I'm going to be the hero. And then I was like,
no,
hell no, I'm good.
You're going to be stressed out. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So
good.
Nathan, themed game.
So my theme game mechanically has more in common with RPGs that Peter loves than it does to most board games. And this is a game where you are collectively ruling a kingdom and trying to undermine each other and kind of go towards your own goals, but then seeing what the outcome of your selfish choices are for the overall kingdom. And that's King's Dilemma. So in this game, you are it's a very, very simple game. You are given a scenario and you are voting on the possible outcomes of the scenario, and you have some information on the possible effects of the way you vote, but not all of it. And then you find out what actually happens and how that affects the stats of the kingdom. So like the stability, the wealth, and so forth. And throughout this, you are telling a story, and every decision impacts the next decision. In fact, there's a semi-legacy element of this game. It's kind of hard to reset once you played it. It is possible, but it's not really intended. But so you're going to basically locking off possible story branches by making certain decisions, and you're just going to go further and further down this line that you might not be wanting to go through, and horrible things can happen to your kingdom if you make selfish choices, but you want to make those selfish choices to possibly make your family the leader in this kingdom. And the other bonus of this buying this game for somebody is if they really love it, you're set for next year, because next year the sequel is coming out, The Queen's Dilemma. And so you got your next year's Christmas gift.
Yeah, twofer. All right. How about you, Evan?
So, if you want a good theme game, you're stuck here because Nathan has a good choice, but he lives far away. Then you have James's choice that he keeps on saying you should play, but he never invites you over to do so. So that's off the list. Peter sounds intriguing, but not everyone is into the RPG. So what do? You get the board game equivalent and get Nemesis. So Nemesis is aliens in a board game, but legally distinct aliens because it's not actually aliens. So in that, you awake from sleep pods and the ship is adrift, and you've got to turn the engines on and make sure that you're pointed toward Earth to get home. But as you're exploring the ship, you can't quite remember exactly the layout of the ship because of hibernation sickness. As you explore it, you make noise, and you hear noises in the rafters and the systems, and all of a sudden, these aliens come out and are trying to eat your face. All the goodness from all the alien movies, all encompassed into a board game that is absolutely dripping with theme that you cannot replace it with anything else. And then toward the end of the game, when James tries to get into your escape pod, you can give him the middle finger and blast off like Nathan did.
Yeah, completely opposite experience with this one, but yeah.
Oh, I didn't get to play this one. I'm so sad. I didn't get to play
it.
I think I missed that playthrough.
Evan has the actual game, which I think would be better with the physical game.
Okay.
The miniatures are amazing. The quality is absolutely great. It is a little hefty to play, and it does have a problem with player elimination, but I think it kind of makes up for it because you die in spectacular ways, and it's kind of almost worth it. I
mean, if we're playing the physical game, if I die early, I'll just eat all your chips.
Yeah, awesome. I'm there.
It's gonna be good. No, it's a great pick. Definitely, if you're looking for an Aliens board game, that is the Aliens board game that is not called Aliens.
Got it.
All right, so that was our lists. We're gonna do a really quick, silly game, and this one's I think everyone's gonna like it. But yeah, I will put in the show notes what all of our selections were for the different categories. So you can look at there and you can shop for your loved ones and get them real cool board games.
Get your loved one games.
Shop for us.
Yeah, shop for us. All right. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions here. This is going to be a little trivia game. In this game, you're just going to say what you think the answer is. Most of them are true or false, just so you know. And I'm going to tell you at the end. I'll just go over them and I'll tell you the answer for each one. Super easy. All right. So this game might not be as easy as you think, because some of them are trick questions and some of them aren't. But we're going to start off with the first one. Can an astronaut see the Great Wall of China from space? Nathan, true or false?
I've definitely heard this before. It's whether it's like an old wives' tale or not, but supposedly it's true.
Okay. What do you think, Peter?
I am also going to say true.
Evan?
False.
All right. All right. So next, how long? I just want in minutes or seconds. So you don't have to be super accurate with this. I'll give you points if you're close. How long can you live in the vacuum of space? Peter, how long do you think you can live in the vacuum of space?
I'm going to say like 2 seconds.
Okay. How about you, Evan?
I think it's something like a minute and a half.
Okay. How about you, Nathan?
I know it's a lot longer than you would think, but it's definitely very situational. I think it might be up to 2 minutes.
Okay.
Well, if I'm going to die in the vacuum of space, I only want to live 2 seconds, guys.
I'm going to be very liberal with this one when we come back to it. But all right. So this is especially okay. Van Gogh cut off his ear in a fit of madness for a woman. Evan, true or false?
True.
Okay. Nathan?
False.
Okay. Peter?
Evan seemed very sure about that.
I'm very sure on everything.
So I'm going to say false.
I don't think it was for a woman.
We'll find out.
All right. So here's the next one. Walt Disney's body is cryogenically frozen. Body or any body part. So Nathan, true or false?
True. I think it's just his head, though.
Okay. Peter?
True.
Okay. Evan?
False.
Okay. All right. So mark those down. All right. On average, you swallow 8 spiders in your sleep a year. Peter, true or false?
True.
Okay. Evan?
False.
Nathan?
False. It's much more.
Okay.
I hate you, Nathan.
Nathan's
Shut up.
like, I just eat spiders daily.
All the time.
All the time. I wake up and it's like spiders.
I
All
have
right.
a bowl. I'm just like, oh.
All right. So when briefed on the suffering in her kingdom, Marie Antoinette replied, let them eat cake. Peter, true or false?
I want it to be true, so I'll say true.
Okay. Evan?
Didn't happen.
Nathan?
Yeah, it's false. It's apocryphal. It didn't really happen.
Okay. All right. So hair and fingernails continue to grow after death. Evan, true or false?
It is false.
Nathan?
True.
I didn't hear you. What was that?
True.
Okay. Peter?
Gosh, they're both really good at thinking they're right. I love watching how sure that they're so sure of themselves. I'm going to say true.
It's how technical he wants to get on it, I think, on that one.
Well, do you want to know the secret to my confidence in here?
Mm-hmm.
I have a 50-50 shot of being right, no matter how I
It's
answer.
true. It's true. And I like Nathan's answer. Nathan's like, Nathan's like, it's if I guessed it right, it's right. If I don't, I'm going to argue that I was right.
Absolutely.
All right. So a penny dropped from the top of the Empire State Building can kill you. Nathan, true or false?
I think that is a myth, so I'm going to say false.
Okay. Peter?
True.
Evan?
False.
Okay. All right. So this is a percentage number that you have to pick. Humans only use what percentage of their brain? So Peter, what is that percentage?
10%.
All right. Evan?
100.
What's that?
100.
Okay. Nathan?
I think you're going for 10%. I think that's somewhat been debunked, but not entirely. But we'll go with 10%.
He's already hedging his bets. He hasn't even said anything yet. He's already hedging.
He's
his
setting
bets.
up to be like, I'm going to argue with you. All right. So this one should be pretty easy. Evan, bananas grow on trees. True or false?
That is true.
Nathan?
True.
Peter?
True.
Okay.
I think that's the first one we all agreed on.
We only have 2 left here. So you should drink 8 glasses of water a day. That's an 8 ounce is a glass. So I forget who I left off with. I'll just say Nathan. True or false?
Trying to do my I am so bad with measurements. I'm trying to figure out how much of that would be 2 liters.
No.
I think it is. I don't know. It's whatever. It's the thing. So
I'm gonna go true.
okay. Peter?
That's 64 ounces, 8 and 8. I feel like that's not enough.
It's 5 times 8. So yeah, 40 ounces.
Oh, 5 times 8. You said 5 glasses of 8 ounces?
8 glasses.
8
Oh my
glasses.
gosh. I don't even know my own facts.
Don't even know
8
your own
glasses.
question. Don't even know how
of
you're
8
going.
ounces,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm going to say true.
Okay. Evan?
Nope. False.
All right. Last questions. This one will start with Peter. Bulls hate red.
False.
Evan?
False.
Nathan?
False.
Okay. One person did really well.
Wasn't me, right?
No, it was not you. All right. So, can you see the Great Wall of China from? Can an astronaut see the Great Wall of China from space? That is false. No astronaut's ever been able to see the Great Wall of China from space.
Oh, okay.
How long can you live in the vacuum of space? So I gave this to 2 people because the answer is variable. If you hold your breath, you'll be dead within 30 seconds. If you do not hold your breath, you can survive up to 2 minutes. You will be unconscious in 30 seconds, but you can survive up to 2 minutes.
Interesting.
You just don't want to survive.
If you hold your breath, you'll destroy your the oxygen tissue.
Okay, so it's good to know. I'm holding my breath. Then.
Totally right. Like, I don't want to be able to.
As soon as I can go, I'm going.
From mishaps, because this is from mishaps, they've proven that you can be recovered in that time frame with almost no side effects, which is pretty unique because you're like in space with radiation and.
No, notice how he said almost no side effects.
Yeah, well, they said
almost
no significant side effects. So what significant is? Whatever, So Van Gogh cut off his ear in a fit of madness for a woman. No, he did not. That's
okay. False. All
right. Walt Disney's body is cryogenically frozen or any body part. That is also false. He did invest in a cryogenic company, but at no point did they cryogenically freeze anything of him.
That's what they want you to think.
Well, it just became a thing. Like he invested in this cryogenic company and he died. And it's still like, that is actually one of the things they said. People will fight to the death. They'll be like, that's what they want you to think. He's frozen in some place, blah, blah, blah. No, he dead in a grave.
That's what they want you to think.
On average, you swallow 8 spiders a year in your sleep. That is false. The average person swallows 0 spiders in their sleep over a year.
Really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was like one of those facts, like what? And then you're like, oh, that's not a fact. And you're like, okay, that makes sense because I don't sleep with my mouth open for 1, so that would be a miracle. And 2, yeah, that's weird. Anyway, when briefed on the suffering in her kingdom, Marie Antoinette replied, "Let them eat cake." She did not, and there's no record of her actually ever saying that.
No, I just think it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Hair and fingernails grow after death. No, they cease to grow immediately after death.
Wow.
Your skin will retract.
It looks like
it look like it does.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I knew there was some technicality to that where it technically wasn't growing or something, but
Yeah. It
Well,
looks like it is,
actually,
but
it's
it's not. Actually, it does not grow at all. It's done. All right. A penny dropped from the top of the Empire State Building will kill you. No, it won't even break skin.
I
It's
definitely
like-
didn't. I definitely didn't win this game, guys.
Also,
it
a
gets
penny
like
drop
30 some
from
miles an
the
hour.
Empire State Building is near possible to hit the bottom of the Empire State Building. But even if it did, you would not be killed.
Okay.
Unless you just like beat yourself with it afterwards. But anyway,
Yeah, the concept of terminal velocity is a thing.
humans only use what percentage of their brain? They use 100%.
Nice, Evan. Look at you
Every
go.
portion of an undamaged brain will fire. Bananas grow on trees. Bananas don't grow on trees. They don't. They're not even a tree. Bananas are actually massive herbs that resemble trees. They're related to orchids or lilies.
So they resemble trees, but they're not
They're
trees.
not a tree. They're not even from the same thing. They're like a giant flower.
Guys, I'm glad that when we all agreed, we were wrong. That makes
You're
me
wrong.
feel good.
No, that
that
was the
makes
one
me
where, like,
feel good.
Across the board, wrong.
All wrong.
Well,
And I would have got that wrong if I didn't look these up, by the
Yeah.
way.
well, three wrongs make a right in my book.
I totally agree.
All right, so we got 2 left here. You should drink 8 glasses of water a day. No, that's false. That's not even like mildly true or anything part of that. None of that's scientific.
Drink when you're thirsty.
You drink when you're thirsty. Every single human has different amounts of liquids that they require,
Okay.
including some places on the earth that they only require 1 to 2 ounces of fluids a day. I would die.
Yeah.
I would literally die
Same.
in every way.
Same.
But some people do require that much. I can't even drink that much. That I would not feel good. Bulls
That's
hate
like
red.
all medicines based on like averages, and mostly the averages for white Americans.
Well, yeah,
So
but I mean,
bulls-
that's it. I don't even think that one's from reading on it was based on an average, so some dude making a number. But anyway, bulls hate red. They don't. They're colorblind. They don't care.
It's motion.
They react to the motion of the cloth. Specifically, cloth freaks them out.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so if you're wearing red, you don't need to take off all your clothes. The bulls doesn't.
I might have got 2 right. Evan?
You did
Evan.
get 2 right.
That's what I thought. I think I got 2 right.
You got 2 right. Nathan got 6 right. Evan got 10 right.
Wow.
Nice. Well
So-
done.
Evan is the big winner of our trivia, which is based on things that people think are facts that are not. Which the space one apparently was people thought you would explode is the number one thing.
Oh, interesting.
You'll never explode. You'll
No.
just be a human floating in space.
I thought you just froze real fast or something.
No, you don't.
You don't freeze either?
In
Okay.
order to get, well, not fast, it'll take a very long time.
Oh, okay.
Because if you know entropy, to work function properly needs like an atmosphere to release your heat quickly. There's no atmosphere in space, so entropy will not occur quickly.
Interesting.
So
Yes. From all those movies where they either have you freeze instantly or just turn inside out.
Apparently.
or like what was it? What was that? The Mars one where they're like their eyes are getting all buggy. and
Oh yeah.
Total Recall.
Total
Total
Recall.
Recall, yeah.
Like they're like but as suddenly as there's oxygen, they're like,
Suddenly it turns into a cartoon.
yeah. So that was our silly game. I hope you guys found value in the Christmas buying guide. But yeah, check out all our stuff and y'all have a good night.